Hey guys, Mr. Diamond here. So, even though you may not have me in science or you've had me in the past, I just wanted to go through some ACT prep stuff and how you can pass your science ACT or do well on it. There's definitely some ways and some strategies that we want to talk to you about. Give you a heads up on what this test itself is going to look like. The format of the ACT science test is it'll have 7 different passages for you to read, 40 questions, and 35 minutes to do all that in. So you have to really be hustling through, being careful, reading, watching what you're doing. The disciplines that it'll cover, it's going to ask you questions about biology, chemistry, physics, the earth sciences, so it's astronomy, meteorology, geology, all of these. What are the passages like? What do these things look like? They're going to have charts and graphs, so you'll be looking at data representations. They'll have 15 questions like that and 3 passages that go with it. There'll be experiments, so you have research summaries with 18 questions and 3 passages like that. And the last one is usually a fighting scientist, where they take conflicting point of views. They'll have 7 questions, 1 passage, and 2 or 3 scientists in that. And the idea is that they look at different points of view on a subject, say, I don't know, evolution, and they give different points of views to it. And they want you to read and be able to answer questions about these differing points of view. What do the questions look like? They're for understanding. They want to test your ability to paraphrase things that you've read. Similar to reading, and required to focus on one sentence in a paragraph. So they're going to reference back to that one sentence or paragraph and ask you what it's telling you, summarize it, etc. Think about what happened in the passage. You have to answer those questions. What are the underlying assumptions? What are the assumptions about this? And sometimes you have to draw on your science and background to be able to do that. You look up the value on a chart, be able to read charts. Next questions are going to be analytical or analyst questions. They want to call for deeper understanding. This is where your background information really comes in, what you know about science. They're going to ask you to call on that information and recall it. Required to recognize relationships. Inversely proportional and proportional relationships. These are the kind of things you'll see here. And they ask you to put 2 things together, or figure it out. Answer the questions. So some logical reasoning usually is what those look like. Generalization questions. Required to see things in perspective. You know, what's the big picture? What are they trying to tell you? What's the overall stuff? Understand how the events described in the passage may relate to the situation. How do they affect the situation? For example, if you have a bunch of rabbits that are dying off and the food that they eat is disappearing, what's that relationship? They'll want to ask you questions that way. May have to describe an experiment. What were the results? How'd they do it? May ask you to predict the results. What would you expect? So here comes a hypothesis writing. This kind of stuff that we've talked about since you were freshmen. Passage may be experimental findings. These are the findings. If you've been in my class, we've read various articles. You know how that works. What are the findings? What are they telling us? Why is this important? What's the impact? What's the overall reason? Why do we care? Why does the real world need to know about this stuff? So these are the kind of articles in generalization. All right, some strategies to take this test. You want to make sure to mark your test. You know, mark the answer. Circle the names and dates as you're reading through. Those kind of things are important. Circle them so you can reference them back quickly without wasting time. It's 35 minutes, guys, so you got to be quick. Underline main ideas, conflicts, points of view. Underline that stuff. Prioritize. You want to do the ones that you know absolutely first. The first. You can go back, so you want to make sure and answer the ones you do know absolutely. If you have the possibility to read the question first, you're reading for information, not comprehension. So sometimes you can go back and just look for that answer in the passage rather than trying to comprehend the whole thing. Think first. Take a moment and understand what you just read. So as you read the passage first time, think about it, understand it, do the best you can to grab everything they're telling you. Be trendy. What I mean by that is you're going to look for trends in the data, identify variables and relationships, things that are patterns. The stuff is logical. They want you to think logically, so they put those patterns together. So make sure you know how that goes. Some other strategies. Don't be afraid of the complex vocab. Usually if you don't understand that, you read on, it refers back and you figure it out what it is. So lots of times a word will describe itself just in the passage it's in, and they usually define it for you. Don't listen to science, and don't try to pronounce words that are unfamiliar to you. If you have to pass them, you pass them. Don't waste time reading. Yes, there's passages, but you're going to get through those. You're going to read the information, not for comprehension, so you're not trying to write an essay about it later. You're trying to find the information in it. Guess. Don't leave anything blank. In the end, put an answer in. You might be lucky. Don't guess at everything, but if you're running out of time, get them in there. Like I say, don't get penalized for guessing. And watch the time carefully. The proctors will usually give you a warning about when it's almost up. That's when you're allowing those last minute or two. That's when you want to try and do those guesses and fill the last ones. Up to that point, though, you want to make sure you get as many as you can. All right, so let's review it. They're going to talk about scientific method. Think about the scientific method. You make observations. You use 5 senses to make those observations. All of them are used. Hypothesis. Remember, it has to be testable and be easily to understand and explain. But the key is testable here. Make a prediction. It's a testable hypothesis. Okay, they go together. Experiment. That's the testing of the hypothesis. Experimental design. These are the variables. What are independent, manipulated, dependent, responding, controlled. Okay, if you don't remember that stuff, look that up or talk to one of your teachers about it. Get a good night's sleep. That's the big one. I know you guys don't like to go to bed early. Before you take the ACT, take the time. Eat a good meal. Take a good night. Sleep. Get up fresh. Take that test. Do a good job. Eat a good breakfast, of course. And be prepared to do your best. ACTs are important, especially if you're going to go on to college. If you don't think you're going to go right after school, you still may need to go to school and do additional training down the road. Nobody gets away without it anymore. And ACTs may come up. You don't want this test to be a pain in your neck for the rest of your life. So do the very best you can. All right. Review this if you need to. You take notes. I put it on my website so you can review it as often as you like. All right. Talk to you later.